Tyler Jenkins leaned back in his worn-out gaming chair, his face illuminated by the cold, bluish glow of his laptop screen. His fingers hovered over the keyboard, still processing the TikTok video he'd just seen. The clip had been a rapid montage of climate disasters, wildfires, floods, and melting glaciers, all overlaid with dramatic music and an ominous voiceover. It ended with a punchy line, "Thanks to Trump's policies, the world is burning." Tyler, a 23-year-old college student and aspiring environmental activist, felt his anger rise. He'd always had a deep love for nature, growing up near the towering redwoods of Northern California. He still remembered his childhood camping trips, the crisp forest air, the echo of chirping birds, and the rustling of leaves underfoot. Now, as he watched these natural wonders vanish on his screen, he felt something snap. "Someone needs to hold that man accountable," he muttered, slamming his laptop shut. Without a second thought, he grabbed his phone and hit the record button. His hands trembled slightly, more from the rush of adrenaline than nervousness. He was ready to speak his mind. "Hey guys," he began, the camera catching the determined set of his jaw. "I just watched a video about how the planet is basically on fire because of Trump's disastrous environmental policies. I mean, this guy pulled us out of the Paris Agreement, rolled back emissions regulations, and pretty much gave the green light for every oil company to drill wherever they want. It's time someone tells him directly." With a fiery gaze, he hit post without a second thought. The video quickly started gaining traction, the likes and comments rolling in faster than he had ever seen before. One comment, in particular, caught his attention. "If you're so brave, why don't you tell Trump this to his face?" Tyler paused. The idea of confronting the president directly felt absurd, yet oddly thrilling. What would he even say? Would he get thrown out, humiliated, or worse, ignored? Just then, his phone buzzed with a notification. It was a message from his older brother, Ryan, a Marine stationed in Washington, D.C. "Hey kid, just saw your TikTok rant. You serious about this?" Tyler's heart raced as he typed back. "Dead serious. Someone's gotta stand up to this guy." After a few minutes, his brother's reply popped up. "Well, if you're really that serious, I might know a way to get you in front of him. Think about it. Let me know." Tyler's mind raced. Was this really happening? Could he actually confront the President of the United States? He leaned back, staring at his phone, his mind already spinning with 100 different scenarios. He closed his eyes, imagining himself standing face to face with the man who, in his mind, had set the world on a dangerous path. The weight of the moment hit him, but with it came a sense of purpose. He shot a message back to Ryan. "Let's do it." The next morning, Tyler's phone buzzed incessantly with notifications. His TikTok had gone viral overnight, racking up hundreds of thousands of views. The comments ranged from supportive messages like, "Go get him, Tyler," to sarcastic jabs like, "Good luck, kid. You're gonna need it." Tyler barely had time to process this newfound attention when his brother Ryan called. "Hey, little bro," Ryan's voice crackled through the line. "You sure you want to go through with this? You're walking into the lion's den here." "I'm sure," Tyler replied, his voice steady. "I need to say this. Someone has to." Ryan sighed. Tyler could almost picture his brother standing tall in his crisp Marine uniform, trying to decide whether this was a brave or foolish move. "All right," Ryan said, his tone firm. "There's an event happening at the White House this weekend, a meet and greet with young community leaders and activists. I can pull some strings to get you on the guest list. It's a long shot, but if you really want to tell Trump how you feel, this is it." Tyler's heart raced. This was real. The chance to confront the most powerful man in the world was right in front of him. "Do it," Tyler said, trying to mask the nerves tightening in his chest. "All right, kid. Pack your bags and get ready for D.C. I'll handle the rest." Over the next few days, Tyler felt a whirlwind of emotions. Excitement, fear, doubt. He spent hours researching, jotting down points, and practicing what he would say. He wanted to hit Trump with hard facts, not just emotional outbursts. He pulled up articles about rising carbon emissions, melting ice caps, and endangered species, stacking his verbal arsenal. When his flight to Washington finally touched down, Tyler felt a jolt of nervous energy. The sprawling city with its towering monuments and white marble buildings felt like the heart of power, intimidating and grand. Ryan met him at the airport, towering over him in his crisp uniform, his jaw set like granite. "Ready for this?" Ryan asked, giving Tyler a firm pat on the back. As ready as I'll ever be, Tyler replied, his voice betraying a slight tremble. The brothers rode silently through the bustling streets, passing the Lincoln Memorial and the Washington Monument before arriving at their hotel. Tyler barely slept at night, his mind replaying all the things he wanted to say. He couldn't shake the image of his TikTok video, the one that had brought him here, and the responsibility that now rested on his shoulders. The next morning, Ryan handed Tyler a sharp suit and a neatly folded American flag pin. "Wear this," Ryan said, his tone more commanding than brotherly. "If you're going to confront the president, at least look the part." Tyler dressed carefully, tightening his tie with trembling fingers. He barely recognized the clean-cut figure staring back at him in the mirror. As they approached the White House, Tyler felt his pulse quicken. The iconic pillars of power loomed before him, radiating a cold, almost surreal energy. "This is it," Ryan said, leading him through the security checks. "You're about to step into history, little bro." Tyler nodded, his heart hammering in his chest as he crossed the threshold into the East Room where the president was scheduled to speak. He could already hear the murmur of voices and the clinking of glasses. The air buzzed with anticipation. As Tyler took his seat among the neatly arranged rows of chairs, he felt a chill run down his spine. He was about to confront the leader of the free world, the man he blamed for the planet's peril. And he had no idea what would happen next. The East Room of the White House buzzed with the clinking of glasses, polite laughter, and the low hum of conversations. Crystal chandeliers sparkled overhead, casting a warm glow over the polished marble floors. Tyler felt small in the crowd of sharp suits and perfectly styled hair. He tugged nervously at his own collar, trying to shake the feeling that he didn't belong here. As he scanned the room, his eyes locked onto the tall, unmistakable figure of President Donald Trump. The man stood confidently near the podium, his signature red tie catching the light as he exchanged handshakes and brief conversations with guests. For a moment, Tyler felt his resolve waver. What if I freeze up? What if he just brushes me off like a fly? Suddenly, a firm hand clapped his shoulder. Tyler turned to see his brother, Ryan, leaning in close. "You good?" Ryan whispered, his face a mix of concern and pride. Yeah, I'm good," Tyler replied, forcing a shaky smile. Just then, a hush fell over the room. Trump stepped up to the podium, his broad shoulders casting a long shadow over the crowd. He adjusted the microphone with a familiar gesture, his eyes scanning the room with the practiced ease of a seasoned performer. "Thank you all for being here," Trump began, his deep voice rolling through the room. "It's great to see so many passionate young leaders. You are the future of this country, the ones who will take us to the next level." The room erupted in applause, and Tyler felt a surge of nerves crash over him. He clenched his fists, his heart hammering in his chest. After a brief, standard speech about American strength, economic growth, and the importance of leadership, Trump opened the floor for questions. "All right," he said, flashing his trademark grin. "Who's got a question for me? Don't be shy. We've got some great young minds here." Tyler felt his hand rise before his mind fully registered what he was doing. His heart felt like it might burst through his chest as Trump's sharp eyes locked onto him. "You there," Trump said, pointing in his direction. "Young man in the suit. What's on your mind?" Tyler stood, his knees trembling slightly. Every eye in the room turned to him, and he felt the weight of 1,000 stares. "Mr. President," he began, his voice trembling slightly before he steadied it. "My name is Tyler Jenkins. I'm a student and an environmental activist. I grew up in Northern California, where I've seen firsthand the devastating effects of climate change. Wildfires, droughts, and polluted rivers, it's getting worse every year." Trump raised an eyebrow, his expression unreadable. The room fell deathly silent, the weight of Tyler's words hanging in the air. "With all due respect, sir," Tyler continued, finding his voice, "I watched a video recently that made me realize something. A lot of these environmental crises have been made worse by policies that your administration pushed. Rolling back emissions regulations, exiting the Paris Agreement, supporting the oil industry at the expense of clean energy. These choices are endangering our planet." Trump's expression remained neutral, his eyes locked onto Tyler's. "I just want to know, do you care about the future of this planet? About my generation, and the ones that will come after us?" For a moment, the room felt frozen in time, the polished marble and crystal chandeliers fading into the background. Tyler's pulse pounded in his ears, drowning out the whispers around him. Trump took a step back from the podium, folding his arms across his chest. His eyes never left Tyler's as he leaned forward, the corners of his mouth twitching slightly. Well, young man, Trump said, his voice lower, almost conversational, that's quite a speech. I like the passion. But you're missing a few key facts. Tyler felt a wave of adrenaline surge through him. The confrontation he had dreamed of, the moment he had played over in his mind 1,000 times, was happening. And it was far from over. Trump leaned into the microphone, his eyes never leaving Tyler's. The room felt tense, the quiet almost oppressive as the president gathered his thoughts. Tyler braced himself, expecting a sharp dismissal or a brush-off, but Trump's tone surprised him. Listen, kid, Trump began, his voice carrying the weight of decades in the public eye. I get it. You're worried about the planet. You've got passion, and I respect that. But let me set a few things straight. Tyler's pulse quickened. This wasn't the reaction he had expected. First of all, Trump continued, raising a hand for emphasis, the United States has some of the cleanest air and water in the world. That's not just me talking, that's a fact. Look it up. Under my administration, we've invested billions in environmental cleanup projects, wildlife conservation, and natural disaster relief. Tyler felt a wave of confusion. He had read countless articles and seen dozens of videos claiming the exact opposite. Was this just more spin? But what about the Paris Agreement? Tyler shot back, his voice gaining strength. You pulled us out of that deal, the one meant to unify the world in fighting climate change. Trump gave a small, almost amused chuckle, his eyes narrowing slightly. Ah, the Paris Agreement, he said, his voice taking on a more theatrical tone. Let me tell you something about that deal, it was a bad deal for America. It shackled our economy while letting major polluters like China and India off the hook. We cut our emissions, they keep increasing theirs. That's not fair. That's not smart. A few people in the audience nodded, murmuring in agreement. Tyler felt his cheeks flush. He hadn't considered this angle. Look, Trump said, his tone turning more serious, I believe in protecting our environment. I've got grandkids too, you know. I want them to grow up in a clean, beautiful America. But we can't cripple our economy in the process. Jobs matter. Energy independence matters. National security matters. Tyler felt his resolve start to waver. He had expected a clash of ideals, but Trump was pulling the conversation into a gray area Tyler hadn't fully prepared for. But what about renewable energy? Tyler countered, his mind racing to regain the upper hand. Why not invest more in solar, wind, and electric vehicles? Why keep pushing oil and coal? Trump leaned forward, resting his hands on the podium. Do you drive a car, son? Trump asked, his eyes locking onto Tyler's. Yeah, Tyler replied, a bit taken aback. Does it run on solar panels? Or wind turbines? Tyler hesitated. No, but... Exactly, Trump cut him off. Until those technologies are truly scalable, reliable, and affordable for every American, we can't just shut down our traditional energy industries. We need an all-of-the-above approach, not some fantasy about flipping a switch and going green overnight. Tyler felt the eyes of the room on him, his heartbeat pounding in his ears. This was not going as planned. He had come here to challenge the president, to hold him accountable, but Trump was pushing back harder than he had anticipated. But the science is clear, Tyler insisted, trying to regain his footing. We're running out of time to act. The planet is warming, and it's because of fossil fuels. Trump's expression softened for a moment, his eyes narrowing thoughtfully. You're right about one thing, we do need to act. But I'm not going to throw millions of Americans out of work in the name of some globalist climate fantasy. I'm going to fight for jobs, for innovation, for real solutions, not just slogans and feel-good policies. The room erupted in scattered applause, and Tyler felt his stomach drop. This wasn't just a conversation, it was a battle of narratives, and he was quickly realizing just how unprepared he was for this level of verbal sparring. Before he could gather his thoughts, Trump leaned back from the podium, his eyes still locked on Tyler. Tell you what, young man, Trump said, his tone shifting to something almost paternal. If you're serious about this, if you really care about making a difference, maybe you should spend some time learning what it takes to actually lead, to make tough choices. Maybe then you'll understand why I make the decisions I make. Tyler felt a wave of heat rise to his face. He had come here to confront Trump, to call him out, but instead, he felt as though the roles had been reversed. Trump gave a slight nod, then turned to address the rest of the room. All right, who's next? He said, his eyes moving away from Tyler. Tyler slowly sank back into his seat, his mind a chaotic swirl of emotions. Anger, confusion, frustration, and, to his surprise, a small seed of doubt. This was far from over. As the event drew to a close, Tyler found himself lingering near the back of the East Room, still reeling from his exchange with Trump. The adrenaline that had propelled him into this confrontation now felt like a lead weight in his chest. He had come here expecting a fiery showdown, but instead, he had found himself grappling with a side of the issue he hadn't fully considered. Ryan approached, his uniform crisp, his expression unreadable. "You okay, kid?" he asked, folding his arms as he leaned against a marble column. Tyler hesitated, his mind a tangled mess of emotions. "I don't know," he admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "I thought I had him. I thought I had all the facts. But he flipped it on me." Ryan chuckled, his eyes sparkling with the kind of wisdom only years of service could provide. "Welcome to the real world, little brother. It's not just about who shouts the loudest or posts the angriest videos. It's about understanding the bigger picture, the trade-offs." Tyler let out a deep breath, the weight of his brother's words settling heavily on his shoulders. As the crowd began to thin, a Secret Service agent approached Tyler. "Mr. Jenkins," the agent said, his face a mask of professional calm. Tyler's heart skipped a beat. Yeah, that's me. The president would like to have a word with you in the Oval Office." Tyler's eyes widened, his mind struggling to process what he had just heard. "Wait, the Oval Office? Now?" "Yes, sir," the agent replied, already turning to lead the way. Ryan shot Tyler an encouraging nod. "Go get M, kid," he whispered, clapping Tyler on the back. Tyler followed the agent through a maze of hallways, his mind racing with 100 different scenarios. He had imagined this moment countless times, confronting Trump, demanding answers, but the reality felt far more surreal. As he entered the Oval Office, the iconic room felt smaller than he had imagined, yet somehow more imposing. The weight of history hung in the air, the resolute desk standing like a silent witness to centuries of American leadership. Trump stood by the window, his silhouette framed against the backdrop of the White House lawn. He turned as Tyler entered, a faint, unreadable smile on his lips. "Tyler," Trump said, extending a hand. "Thanks for speaking up back there. I appreciate a young guy who's not afraid to say what's on his mind." Tyler hesitated for a moment before shaking Trump's hand. It felt like grasping the hand of a giant, firm, unyielding. "Thank you for listening, sir," Tyler replied, struggling to keep his voice steady. Trump gestured for Tyler to take a seat on one of the plush, cream-colored couches. "Look, I don't want you walking away from here thinking I don't care about the environment," Trump said, settling into a leather armchair across from Tyler. "I do. But I also care about the millions of Americans whose livelihoods depend on industries you'd like to shut down tomorrow." Tyler felt a pang of guilt. He had never considered the human cost of his idealistic visions for a greener planet. "I get that," Tyler said, his voice quieter now. I just want a future where I can still take my kids hiking through redwood forests where we don't have to worry about cities flooding or air that's too toxic to breathe." Trump leaned forward, his hands clasped together. "And I want a future where those same kids have jobs, where this country stays strong and independent," Trump replied. "It's a balance, Tyler. It's not easy, and it's never perfect." For a moment, the two sat in silence, the distant hum of the White House's air conditioning the only sound. Tyler felt the last remnants of his anger melting into something more complex, a mixture of respect, frustration, and perhaps a bit of understanding. Trump stood, extending his hand once more. "Keep fighting for what you believe in, kid," he said, his blue eyes locking onto Tyler's. "Just remember, the world is a lot more complicated than a 60-second TikTok video." Tyler stood as well, shaking Trump's hand once more, this time with a firmer grip. "I will," Tyler replied, his voice steadier now. "And thanks for listening." As he walked out of the Oval Office, Tyler felt a strange sense of calm wash over him. He had come here expecting a fight, but instead he had found something much more valuable: perspective. As he stepped back into the bright DC sunlight, his phone buzzed with a new notification. It was a message from Ryan. "Proud of you, little bro. You did good." Tyler smiled, slipping his phone back into his pocket as he walked down the marble steps of the White House. For the first time in a long time, he felt like he understood the weight of his words and the importance of speaking them. The world was still on fire, the challenges still immense, but at least now, Tyler felt a little less lost.